Welcome to Mission Evolution Radio Show with Gwilda Wiyaka, bringing together today's leading experts to uncover ever-deepening spiritual truths and the latest scientific developments in support of the evolution of humankind. For more information on Mission Evolution Radio with Gwilda Wiyaka, visit www.missionevolution.org. And now, here's the host of Mission Evolution, Miss Gwilda Wiyaka.
Getting old is not for the faint of heart. Are there hidden gifts to be found in aging we may miss if we're distracted by aches, pains, and bad press of the latter years? If so, how do we access them? Mission Evolution Radio TV show is coming to you around the world on the X Zone Broadcast Network, xzbn.net. With us this hour to examine the hidden gifts of aging is Kamla K. Kapur. Kamla was born and raised in India and studied in the United States. Her writing has included plays, novels, poetry, essays, and reimaging India and Mid-Eastern spiritual writings. Her latest book is The Privilege of Aging, Savoring the Fullness of Life. Her website, kamlakapur.com. Kamla, thanks so much for joining us on Mission Evolution.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So, Kamla, you were born and raised in India, I understand.
That's right. But I've spent more time here in the US than I have in India. But my formative years were in India. And
What can you tell us about how the differences between the way aging and the elders are treated in India versus how it is here?
well, it's a very individual thing. And there are some, there is um, the joint family system in India, for example, and the whole family lives in the same house. They might have separate kitchens, but they're all there. And when people age, they're just absorbed into the larger family. And they're not as isolated and as cut off from human contact as they are in the West, because there's no tradition of a joint family or a family collective that kind of takes care of its aging and debilitated members. So there's that. But with the coming on of the modern age and the precedence of the nuclear family, you find that old people and grandparents are also neglected. I mean, it seems to be a trend all over the world that the aging population is marginalized and put away and warehoused. So it's I think it's a global trend, but in the East there's more of a consciousness about taking care of the elderly who have birthed you and brought you into being. There is that respect for them, which is sort of lacking in the West, where the aging have outgrown their relevance and are no longer useful or productive. But the aging are a storehouse. They are the repository of our stories and our history, and we need to plumb that resource. So
Yes, I think that there's an improvement needed. I don't think that this moving away from the circular family that absorbs the aging and takes care of them, and everybody kind of sticks together and shares the load. I don't think we've improved by moving away from that. The other point I'd like to make is or ask you about, is the value that's attributed to the aging and the wisdom that's gathered. Was that still being honored in India when you were growing up there?
well, I just got a quote from a friend this morning that said, as you get older, you get wiser. but I'm just getting older and wider, you know. But this is not relevant to the question that you asked, and I think that I remember talking to my mother and my father a lot while they aged because I wanted to get my stories from them and I wanted to get their stories from them because they grew up in a different age. It's been the acceleration, especially in India, from life in the village to life in the city as is been so exponentially different that I wanted to and to get the story, and I got it and I wrote about it, and but it's it wasn't just my own selfish desire to gather the stories, but it was also a way for me to spend time with them and for them to recollect their stories. It's very important, and research has shown this that as you get older, you have a deep need to talk about your life that is past or that is passing, and to narrate it, to tell about it, to talk about it, and in the process impart wisdom. I definitely gleaned a lot of wisdom from my parents' lives. So there is a great value in the aging that we have to recognize and pay attention to. I mean, in the West, youngsters, say, like people who are doing creative writing or something, teachers could assign them, go to an old folks' home and get their stories, for example. Our education is very deficient in this way. You
Absolutely, it is. And what do you see as some of the greatest myths about aging?
Well, in the West, the myth is um, you are useless. You have outgrown your productivity. You are no longer contributing to your society and your community, and your life is basically over and done with. Um,
Yeah, by the time you're 65,
by the
right?
time you're 65,
Mhm.
and sometimes even earlier, um, um, r- if you retire, then you've kind of uh, I know a lot of people who are very afraid of retiring for this very reason, because they know that people will see them as useless, and we end up internalizing these cultural myths. We end up thinking that as soon as I retire, I'm going to be useless. And I personally know a couple of people who retired and just died because they had not been um, given any alternative to living a better life. I mean, life begins in a way after retirement
It
because
can, it certainly can.
uh,
And
y-
and I had my former father-in-law said, when you get ready to retire, make sure you're retiring to something. Okay.
yes,
And he
good.
went on to teach aerobatics, which he had taught him before, but when he got out of his job, he could commit a lot more time to that. And writers, the people that do their best writing, are usually quite a bit into their dotage because they have that substance. And yet people don't recognize that substance. What do you think is happening to our society as a result of people just retiring and giving up, and people not valuing the wisdom that they could share?
Well, it's just accelerating the dysfunction of this society. It is a part of the general tendency in the Western culture to pay so much attention to appearance and productivity. As soon as you start getting a wrinkle, you should get a facelift, or lift up your butt, or start exercising even more than you were exercising before, which is a good thing, but which can also cause damage. And I have experienced that. Overdoing anything can cause damage to your body and your mind. And so it's the, the dysfunctionality of this culture is epitomized in the lack of respect for the elderly, um, for people who have grown into their fullness and have moved out of the workplace in order to start living for themselves. The young people don't realize that they're going to grow old and they're going to face these straits themselves. And they should actually be looking forward to retirement instead of dreading it, because in a way, the best part of your life begins now.
Absolutely. Whenever now is, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, we're just about to have to go into a station break, but we will return. Kamala and I will return very shortly. So please don't go away. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org. How come older isn't considered better? With us this hour discussing aging is the author of The Privilege of Aging, Savoring the Fullness of Life, Kamla K. Kapur. Kamala, one of the things that I really love to address today is this tendency, particularly here in the West, that we have of valuing youth and beauty. And it seems like as soon as somebody gets over 20, they're told, not everybody, but some people are very, and our media helps us along, totally preoccupied in how they look versus cultivating any kind of substance. Then come time for the elder years, they don't have any substance and they don't have their looks. Have you observed this? And what do you think is the ramifications of that?
Well, I have observed it. I mean, it's everywhere. So you can't not see it. And you're absolutely right. By the time you come to retirement, you have nothing to fall back upon, because your values are all skewed. Your value is appearance, how you look, how your body looks. And once you have lost that, and it's inevitable for us to lose that, and we have not been educated. Our college, uh, school education has not been geared towards teaching us the values that endure. Youth and beauty do not endure. That is the truth. And it's because there is no rooting and foundation in wisdom. We come from an invisibility. We don't know how we got here, and we're going to return to that. It's it's all due to forgetting that life is change. That you keep changing from moment to moment, from the moment you're born, and you are moving towards an end here. And the end here, for example, the West and the culture, the Western culture uh, does not at all talk about death and dying, you know. And
Fortunately, there are some people that are pioneering that at this time. I've spoken to some of them, but it's something that's, you forget about it. You don't, that's not going to happen to me. And because people live like they're going to be young and beautiful for the rest of their lives, when the time comes, they have no resources, do they?
no, and the resource here is wisdom. It's our reservoir of techniques and tools that we have to use throughout our life in order to for us to recall when we need to in times of crisis. We need to fall back upon these tools and techniques which we have not been given. And I think I would be a nervous wreck if I didn't have those, and if I didn't rely on them from moment to moment, and tragedy to tragedy, and loss to loss, and illness to illness. I have been very ill lately, and what has seen me through um, is and I'm closer to my death. I turned 76 in a few days, and given my proximity to the event horizon, I have to start thinking about death. I don't want to be caught unawares by it. I don't want to suddenly say, "Oh my God, I'm dying," and I don't want to die, and this is it. This is the end. So I have begun to prepare myself for the event,
Well,
and
there's a concept that comes from a lot of the indigenous peoples, and that's the honoring the different milestones in life. And we do a little bit of it. Oh, you graduate high school, then you're coming towards an adult, and that sort of thing. But all along the way, there are these milestones that would represent a change from mother into wise woman, from wise woman into elder.
yes,
And as they honored those and moved through those, then they were honored in that position, and their knowledge and skills and strengths from that age set were drawn on by the entire tribe. And so people didn't surplus, and they honored where they were, and they weren't expected to look like they were 20 when they were 50. But we've lost that. And so now there's no examples, is there?
Um, no, we don't. But we could go back to these indigenous tribes. I mean, we need to cultivate. I mean, they are the original Americans, and they are the repository of a lot of wisdom. I mean, and people who are working to revive that. I mean, I tip my hat to them. We, but we also have to. Um, develop our own myths and impart them to the young, and impart them to the middle aged. It's again goes back to the deficiency of our education system,
It
where
does, doesn't it?
yeah,
And if we can embrace those times, then can't we model them for the people that are younger than we are?
if we embrace which times,
If all of them. If we embrace
yes,
our each stage of life as it comes and do it at the best we can, isn't that modeling then so people aren't so lost when they have these transitions?
exactly. And so when you have elders in your own family, for example, who have gone through the journey, and who are model elders who you love, your grandparents, then you have more than just a religious tradition that gives you precepts about aging. Then you have a model, then you have a physical model, uh, that and you think that I want to grow up to be like grandpa.
Exactly. And if the adults, the younger adults in the family, oh, grandpa, just don't pay any attention to him. He doesn't know what he's talking. He's kind of getting older, you know. And, if that's the attitude, that isn't that the attitude the child has towards themselves when they get that age?
Yes, yes, they do. And I also believe that uh, you know um, our corporations that are the major employers of people need to be taught to offer classes to their employees. I mean, uh, this is not a popular way of thinking, but corporations bear a lot of responsibility. They will increase their productivity if they're giving their employees an education on, how to retire, what to do when you retire, to prepare for retirement, um, or give them, lessons in journal writing, which, I mean, if I didn't have journal writing, I would again not know how to navigate my aging. I just, every time I reach an impasse, I just take out my journal and I write. And by the end of it, I have resolved my issue. I have transcended it. I've transformed it into a gift, into um, into something I can work with and develop.
So, what are your fears and anxieties about physical decline and aging?
Well, and we all have them. Um, I think helplessness is my greatest one. My latest illness, I had polymyalgia rheumatica, and I couldn't move about very well. And I didn't want to be telling my husband, get me a glass of water, do this, do that. And it made me realize that as you get older, there's a certain helplessness involved with that. And so that is definitely one of my fears, being alone. I'm afraid my husband will die before me and I will be left alone to fend for myself. But these are all future fears. And these are fears that attack all of us. It's like Mark Twain said, I've known a lot of trouble that didn't happen, you know.
Yeah, borrowing trouble.
Yes, and so my way of dealing with my future fears is that I go by my guru's words. He says, "Let not the mind think of tomorrow. The tomorrow will take care of itself." And I've known that from my own life. Every time I faced a hardship, help has come. Help has been provided, whether it's the universe or my community or my people or people, my friends, that um, help does come. And you have to trust that. As you age, I think it becomes extremely important for you to trust yourself, trust your life, and trust that the universe will provide for you. I've been through a lot in my life, and I have been provided help. I,
That's so true because it's like if you are so busy fearing aging, fearing losing your looks, fearing losing your value in society, you're clear in the future and you're not enjoying what you have now or preparing for that eventuality when you don't have your looks to fall back on, when you don't have your physical strength to fall back on. And if you don't have substance at that point, if you haven't cultivated yourself and you've been worried about tomorrow, I guess you're kind of in trouble, aren't you? Yeah.
yes.
Well, it is time once again when we need to take another commercial break. Kumala and I will be right back to continue our discussion. Please stay right there. This is Mission Evolution. www.missionevolution.org. Who says we can't be both old and healthy? This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. With us discussing the myths of aging is Kamla K. Kapur. Her website, komalakapur.com. Kamala, do you think, it seems like we age quicker in physically quicker. It seems like there's a lot more stress on our physical bodies. How much does physical decline due to aging, and how much is it because of our increasingly toxic environment?
I think that um, it's both, and I would add a third to that. Well, the environment we know is very toxic, and we know that. Um, and our environment includes the culture at large.
Exactly.
In addition to our natural pollution and global warming and all of that, and definitely I don't think we can deny that as we age we do decline. But the third factor in all of this is our lack of um, exercise, mobility, which means also not only physical exercise and stretching and yoga and all of that, but mental flexibility. What the scientists call brain plasticity, and and there are many ways to keep ourselves healthier by and it doesn't take much. Some days it just takes getting out of the door and walking around the block, for example, to not um, kind of overextend, but do a little bit at a time. Instead of telling yourself you're going to stretch for an hour, do it for 10 minutes. It's not what you do, but it's how you do it and your attitude towards it. And that 5 minutes is better than nothing.
I'm glad
And
you brought up attitude because how much of our aging is our beliefs around aging?
yes, absolutely. If you see, the mind is what determines our reality. And if your mind is telling you, I'm old, I'm feeble, I'm ugly, I'm not young anymore, I'm not capable of very much anymore, then that's what you're going to become. So the responsibility for keeping our mind on track is the fundamental and root um, activity that we have to cultivate as we age. We have to keep our minds straight. It's not just exercising and eating the right supplements and eating the right food. Even more important than that is watching your mind, because the mind drags you to hell. There is the default mind that you have never questioned, that nobody ever questions, and that takes you down the rabbit holes of depression and despair, and you have not learned the techniques to intercept them.
And isn't this what we're being fed by the media and everything else? What's being shown as valuable and desirable is youth and physical beauty and the fast car as and then there's the myths about what old people are, what they can do, what they can't do, what their bodies are supposed to be like. And so we're fed this. Don't we have to kind of deprogram ourselves in order to keep our mind fresh and be all that we can be?
That's what I'm talking about, the deprogramming. We have to realize that we have a choice, and we if we focus on our debilities and on our inabilities and our weakness and our feebleness, and that's what we're going to become. And if we focus on all the things that we can do and all the things, how aging is a gift, all the gifts that aging brings. I would not want to be a day younger than I am today, because I learn new things every day. I learn new ways to be, new ways to look at life, new ways to negotiate my own life, and to see the beauty in it. Um,
Don't we have to, well, we're talking about cultivating that, but a lot of people will say, I really wish I was 20 again, and like you, I go, I wouldn't want to be who I was when I was 20. I've spent the last however many years developing more substance, more knowledge, more depth, more character, and I wouldn't trade that for the lack of the aches and pains. But a lot of people are really still, totally enamored with what's being presented as desirable. And we even view the face of an elder as less than beautiful. And how can that be? How can that be? All those lines of beauty and work and substance.
because most people, and we included in that, we do not question what we have been fed. We have been fed lies. It's a lie to say that the only thing that counts in beauty, in life, is youth and beauty. There is, so that's about a fraction of existence. You know that youth and beauty don't last. We have seen it all around us. And to not pay attention to that, and to not um, use that knowledge for our own good and our own self discovery, is to sabotage our own existence. We are doing ourselves a lot of harm by not embarking upon self discovery. Now, and what is self discovery? Self discovery is basically questioning the values we've been taught from childhood. That is what Carl Gustav Jung calls individuation. To come into yourself, to come into your wholeness, to come into your fullness, which is something you can only do after you retire, because what you've done all your life is you've been a wage slave. You have tried to prove things to yourself, prove things to others, but you have not tried to prove anything to yourself.
There,
You have to get to a point where you say, I'm valuable. I love myself no matter what I look like. I am worth it. I love myself. I adore myself.
is there a point beyond that when the focus becomes being in service to other? I mean, like you say, when you have a job and you're totally wrapped in the 9 to 5, that pretty much absorbs your attention, during your younger years. Then you have to develop loving yourself at any stage. But then isn't there a time when we can set all that aside and use the substance that we've gained to benefit the world?
But and you can begin in your own life. Absolutely, you can begin in your own home. You can begin in with your circle of friends and your community, and you can broaden out into how you can contribute to the world, to peace in the world, to well-being in the world. um, uh, I consider myself entirely selfish there, because I think that I am the focus of my life. But the focus of my life is writing, and I hope that that benefits people. And that is, we all want to share. We all want to share what we know with others, and we all have things to share. So, and we can start at any point. We can start the process of self discovery at any point. We can start at 60, we can start at 65, we can start at 70. We can say, okay, today's a new day. I'm going to begin some of those things that I haven't allowed myself to experience before, like going slowly, for instance, slowing down the pace of my existence so I can look around and see what's there, not be hurried, because hurry destroys the essence of your life. Um,
you know you I've watched this in Walmart, say, for instance, the young people that have a job to get to and they're trying to take care of their kids. It's a really stressful time of life, and they're heading down with their carts and they're going 9-0. And then you have the retired people, they're standing in the middle of the aisles in the way of the person that's trying to get someplace visiting. It's fun to
yeah.
watch the different stages of life, and if we can be present for them, isn't that where we glean the knowledge and the wisdom?
Uh, be present for them. That's the term. That's the phrase. When you slow down, when you cut down the hectic pace of life, that's what you're given. You're given presence, and and every moment becomes valuable, and every moment becomes precious. And when you're present, you relate more to people, you look at beauty more, you take time out to love yourself and nurture yourself, and you take time out to love and nurture others, because you have time. And that's one of the gifts of aging, and one of the gifts of retirement is you have time. And instead of making time an enemy, oh my God, what shall I do? What shall I do with my time? You can begin with very few things. one brushstroke of something that can take you down the path of more fulfillment. Uh,
Well, it is time, yet again, to take another station break. Please stay with us as Kamala and I continue to explore the privilege of aging. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org. Can you break the myths of aging? This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. We're continuing our discussion with Kamla K. Kapur. Her website, kumlalakapur.com. Kumala, how have your views of success changed since as you've aged?
Success when I was younger was always about production, getting this book published and that book published, and it was about rewards. And now, as I age, success has become how successfully I negotiate my day, how successfully I live, how happy I am during my day, how peaceful I am during the day. Um, this should have been my definition of success throughout. I realize now, because I deprived myself a lot by being so driven. And I suppose youth is about being driven. But I think that one can take time out, even as you're young, to redefine success. Um, I think the greatest definition of success is love and loving. I think that that's what life is really all
Yes,
about.
beautiful.
It's that's the ultimate. That's why we are here, and we are here to broaden our hearts. We are here to live through our hearts instead of our minds. We are here to experience feelingly the existence that has been given to us, that has been gifted to us. It's a very rare opportunity to be alive. And as you grow older, you realize you don't have forever. Young people think they have forever, that they are immortal, but it's never too late to realize that we have a shelf life. Uh,
That
uh,
which brings me to Kamala. What if you had the opportunity? What would you tell your 20-year-old self?
well, I would. A part of me, I think my 20-year-old self was quite deaf and would not listen to anything I had to tell her. But if she were in a position to listen to me, I would tell her basically, don't stress so much. Don't be so worried. Everything has a purpose. Everything turns out well. And there is no need to go about your life as if everything depended on you. Everything does not depend on you. Everything also, a lot of things depend upon the universe, and how your attitude to the universe, your attitude to the life, and how it reciprocates that. So I think I would be a happier 20-year-old if she would listen to what I have to tell her right now. I would definitely ask her to slow down. I would definitely tell her, listen, the most important thing you can do right now is to learn to be soft, surrendered, and loving.
Well, it's that time in the show, Kumala, when I get to ask you, what's your mission?
Ask me what?
What is your mission?
My mission is, in my passion has been to write, and my mission in that writing has always been to depict the human condition, to depict the suffering of the human condition, and to show ways to transcend it. to show ways to embrace it, move through it, and to transcend it, and to transform ourselves, because we are here to evolve as human beings. We are not here merely to just live out our existence and then die. The greats and the guides of all traditions, East, West, North, South, has been discover yourself, know thyself, self examine. And these are all things I show how to do in my books. So that to share um, what I have learned with others, and from the response I get to my books, I feel that I have accomplished some of that mission. The mission for myself to evolve as an individual, and for others to evolve as individuals, because there is an evolution, there is a progression here in life, that we do end up better than we began, and we have to attempt to end up better than we began. And
Well, if we freeze ourselves in youth, because that's the only thing that we value, where's the evolution in that?
yeah, exactly. And then by the time we get to old age, we're a wreck.
And have nothing to offer.
And yeah,
So
it's a
how has your spirituality or religious beliefs evolved as you've aged?
oh, definitely they have evolved. You know, when I was young, I didn't pay much attention to it. It's only as I began to age that I realized my feebleness, my powerlessness, and these are all wonderful things to happen to one. You know, feebleness, powerlessness, tragedies, they are all the stuff that help us grow. They're the mulch. They are the mulch out of which we grow. And all my tragedies have I have come out a better person from all my tragedies and my illnesses than I was before. That is the purpose of suffering. And because of them, I would say my spirituality has grown by leaps and bounds. My day um, begins with meditation. My day ends with meditation. And meditation is not the only spirituality there is. Meditation is how you treat yourself throughout the day, how you treat others throughout the day. Spirituality is being kind to yourself, being kind to others, seeing all as equal, no matter what color, what race, what gender. That is the highest spirituality, to transcend your prejudices and to see that all of us, all humanity, all races, all gender, we are one, and we share the same blood. We are consanguine. We have the same feelings. If we get hurt by somebody saying something to us, somebody else gets hurt also by the same thing. So we all hurt. We're all suffering, and we all experience pain, and we are all equal. In Indian mythology, this illusion that we are separate is the greatest illusion of existence, and it is false. We are
It is
not separate.
it's one of the most damaging myths there is, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And it's what causes loneliness, it's what causes despair, it's what causes isolation and depression and death and suicide and all of that.
So we're just about out of time in the show, but I wanted to ask you, what advice do you have for Mission Evolution's worldwide audience about being all you can be as you age?
You have to be open to being all that you can be. You can't close yourself off. Um, And you can't think that my life is over because I'm a certain age. That is the wrong thinking. You have to see every day as a new beginning. And what are the things that you can do that are new today? And it has to be nothing more than walking out of your door and looking at a flower and admiring a tree and feeling the breeze on your skin and realizing you're still here, you're still alive, and to respect and honor that existence by being grateful and by exulting in your aliveness.
Gratitude is a hugely important part of the equation, isn't it?
Absolutely. We would be nowhere without gratitude.
And isn't that one of the first things that we lose when we start going into despair about not being young and beautiful and all those things anymore versus embracing what we are?
Yes, I heard a little saying when I was quite young, and I've lived with that. I cried because I had no shoes till I met a man who had no feet.
Hmm, that's
You see,
beautiful. Yeah.
and that's gratitude. You count all the things that you have been given and that you do have. So
And it changes your reality, actually, doesn't it?
it changes everything.
Well, unfortunately, Kumala, we are out of time. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Mhm. Our guest this hour has been Kumala K. Kapur, the author of Privilege of Aging, Savoring the Fullness of Life. To find out more about Kumala and where you can find her books, visit her website, kumalakapur.com. This has been Mission Evolution with Gwilda Wiyaka. For more information or to enjoy our past archived episodes, visit our website, missionevolution.org. But please be sure to join us right here next time as this mission continues, bringing information, resources, and support to our rapidly evolving world.